Some of y'all gonna get this, and some of y'all won't. And he peace up out of there, goes over to Tommy's to tell him about his recent convo with Claudia. Then he tells us some shit about Stacy Marks he didn't know. So let's go back to Stacy for a second. Stacy got a cat up in her office, this motherfucker named Steve Lawrence, who she wants support from for her campaign for mayor, hoping that he can provide a healthy show of support from the police, But this mofo ain't on board, because his department got investigated some time back for some goddamn civil rights violations. And he blames that investigation on Stacy. So they get to talking about what Brown can do for him, to get that support, He tell her 100 larger do the trick, As a nice little down payment on a boat he got his eye on. He trying to buy the goddamn Titanic? $100K for a down payment. She tell him he bugging out, but tells him she can keep the mayor's office out of his business, if she become mayor, so that he and his crew can move about with more racist, prejudicial impunity or whatever the they was doing, And he tells her that's a bet, and he'll make sure that some goddamn strong police presence is at the event. And she has that event, and there is strong police presence, like 20 popo strong. She up at the podium talking her talk. All of a sudden, when mentioning the good work she was gonna do with the help of the police, the goddamn scene changed. Police flash mob Stacy ass, Hit her with that Rhythm Nation, gave her they ass and backs to kiss simultaneously, Had Stacy flustered as a mother. Wasn't else to say, but I'm Stacy Marks. And I'm running for mayor. Speech over. She got the hell out of Dodge. Ran into the little weasel Lawrence before she peaced out. He like, my bad. Cops don't be forgetting shit. But I can make that go away for 150 large, The motherfucking price done went up. No more flash mobs. He like, we'll come back, get off that Rhythm Nation. Get on that control, that pleasure principle. Put some color back into your campaign, Because now Stacy shit is burnt toast. Like whatever chance she had before, it just dropped significantly. And after Vic explains all of this happening to Tommy, well, they decide to use this to Tommy's advantage, and they decide to flip Stacy Marks the way she flipped Vic, which is how everybody gets flipped, which is by the threat of being outed to eventually pay the price over some shit you don't want out there. And Vic tells him about how Stacy got this little shorty to flip on him. And he goes and pays little shorty a visit, This the little shorty who was there when Vic and Tommy went on a deal gone bad with this cat named Colin in season 1. And he tells her he knows she worked with the feds to get Vic locked up. Offers her 25 large to help him out, Tell him some shit about Stacy Marks and make a little video with him, And at some point they get to plotting. Video making, the whole deal. Next thing we see Vic and Stacy meeting up somewhere. And he tells her he got a donation for her campaign. She like, the you know about my campaign? Just then Tommy come around the corner. Introduces himself as Pageant Inc., her biggest donor to date. She like, the is going on here? Stacy ass looked like she saw two goddamn Resident Evil monsters and shit, you know. She backed the up like Onyx and all of that. Discovers Vic been reversing his snitch and is now working with Tommy. Tommy tells her he saw earlier how she lost serious favor with the Popo and could use his continued donations, you know. And as Tommy expected, well, she told Tommy to go himself, you know. To which Tommy then pulls out the video on his cell that he made with Lil Shorty. Had Lil Shorty saying how she met with Stacy and that Stacy bribed her to ID Vic as the shooter of that coked up, crazy cowboy Colin ass, you know, from the art gallery a couple of seasons ago. Said she offered her cash to do it. Now, if you recall, a couple of seasons ago, Lil Shorty, whose name is Alicia, well, her ass was drugged up in Colin's spot, you know, about to get got. Looked like maybe she had already gotten got. You know, them two was high as a kite. Well, goddamn, Colin had lost it, you know, high on whatever the he was on. Playing that goddamn loud-ass dance music, waving that big-ass gun around, screaming and shit. And Vic did put one in his ass, you know, but Shorty was already removed from the room when it happened, so she ain't see shit. But when she got picked up by the cops for copping drugs, the only way she could get a deal was to have ID'd Vic as the shooter and to say she saw him do it. So to save her own ass, a decision she made on her own, said that she saw Vic do it when she didn't. And after telling Tommy all of this, well, he knew she would say any damn thing, you know, to save her ass or for some money, drugs, or whatever. And they made that damn video, even though it was a lie. And if all of that came out, well, that muddies the waters a little for Stacy ass, you know. And she knew it. Knew all the negative consequences that might entail. Doors that might close. How her career that she had built up and was so proud of, that she had worked so hard at and for, would eventually come tumbling down. And she didn't want that. It was a goddamn moment for Stacy Marks' ass, wasn't it? Had Stacy by the circumstantial balls. And she rethought about it and took that damn check, you know. Soon as she did, Tommy like, you work for me now. And her first job was to pull Claudia's detail, you know. But that would be too eyebrow raising. So Tommy settled for her pulling the detail off Lobo Elise. And they piece up out of there.